Trump signs executive order to defund schools teaching CRT,
Hoorah.
radical gender ideology. Look, man, I've said it the past couple days. I don't even believe in gender, right? It's sex, and that's it. Like,
that hit me hard yesterday. I never thought about it, but I know it came around 1955 with the John Money dude.
Yeah.
And it didn't hit my brain, but that makes so much sense.
there's
Get rid of it.
There is no such thing as gender. There's no reason to have gender. It's just you're male or you're female. It's your sex.
It's a function of language.
Well, but
That's language can be gendered.
Well, I mean,
People don't
So
have
it is a social construct.
an
but
essential.
they win.
It's a social construct, though. No,
people don't
it's
have
not.
essential gender identities, but I think that they would weasel around the meaning of that word by saying, "Oh, it's just the way you've been socialized based on your body parts." That's what they would say it is.
Yeah, and I can just say that's BS.
Well, it's true though, but you are socialized a different way based on your body parts.
You're
based
on your sex, not on your gender.
Yeah, they would say that structure of socialization, you could just call it gender.
Yeah,
that's what they would say.
That's fine.
Just to play devil's advocate, that does make sense to me.
But the point that I'm making is I reject that entirely. Like, it's all based on sex. So the idea that, oh, well...
Yeah, I don't think they would necessarily deny that.
What?
I don't think that people who believe in gender as a concept would probably say it's the way you're socialized based on your sex.
Yeah, they can define people that are interested in having that dialogue. They can define it however they want. But I reject the whole concept totally. Right? Like, for me,
what concept?
The concept of gender. It's biological sex. How you dress and the things that you like are what goes into making your gender, right? It's about the things that are good for a female and things that are good for a male, or the things that society says is good for a female and good for a male. Those are the things that go into making your gender. When you look at trans women, men that dress up like women, like, it's always a caricature of a woman. Very, very rarely are they a normal.
Oh, no.
They behave as a normal woman. You know what I mean?
Dressed like little anime girls.
Exactly. It's always
they got the cat ears,
flouncing
and all that.
around.
It's always
disgusting.
some kind of exaggerated caricature, and the same way for trans men. Like, you saw the way that woman sat down to talk to Ben Shapiro.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's a character.
Yeah,
it's not
oh my
natural.
goodness.
It's not. It's all. It's a.
See, but when I see
LARPing.
something like that, I just feel sad. And when I see a guy doing the whole like caricature of a woman thing, I'm grossed out. You know what I mean? Like, you feel that way too?
I do, and
I do.
You
I will
just feel
concur.
sad when you see a woman doing that, but when you see a man doing it, you're like, ew.
You're like,
Yes.
dude, you're like a man. You know, what are
Yeah.
you doing, dude?
But that goes to my point. Like, it's not about your sex spirit or your gender. It's actually about the physical things that make you who you are.
Well, but I also just don't relate to the way you're expressing that, because I'm religious. I do believe that human beings have souls, and I do believe that you are created male and female spiritually as well as physically. So there is a spiritual reality to being a woman.
So you think there is a
man.
gender to a spirit?
I don't know if gender is the right word for it. I'm just saying you have a soul, and it is primordially male or female.
And you're saying maybe just expression in general, maybe not a gender thing, just like how you express yourself?
You're socialized a certain way based
Yeah.
on whether you're biologically male or female, and maybe you could make an argument that you could call that process of socialization gender. But that would be disingenuous anyway.
Because it's a process of socialization. It's a process. It's not about what you are innately.
Of course.
So, anyways, we'll go back to the article. The Hill says President Trump has signed an executive order to prohibit federal funds from going to K-12 public schools that teach critical race theory or gender issues. The order, which could quickly face legal challenges, prohibits federal funding of the indoctrination of children, which include radical gender ideology and critical race theory in classrooms. All this stuff is just Marxism dressed up as some kind of other way. It's Marxist power dynamics, and it should all be ripped right out of schools. The Education Secretary and Defense Secretary for schools run by the Defense Department are ordered to create a strategy for ending indoctrination in K through 12 education within 90 days. The order also reinstates the 1776 commission Trump created in his first term, telling all executive agencies to prioritize the advancement of patriotic education. That is actually in my opinion, the most important thing about this piece here. That's actually they buried the lead there. The idea that a society would educate its children to hate the society only guarantees that the society will destroy itself.
100%. Yeah, that blows my mind that we're replaced patriotic, like learning about American greatness, and replaced it with CRT.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just tell all of our kids they're victims and there's nothing they can do about it. What greatness rises from that?
None. I think that the most important thing, this could be one of the most important things that Donald Trump does in his whole presidency.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I think you're looking at it wrong too. Like, what greatness rises from that? Nothing.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Like, brother, like they don't want anything to happen in this country. They want
They'll punch
everything
in.
to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's like the thing that I think a lot of the right doesn't get. They like, you understand the arguments of the left, you get what they're doing, but you have to understand the mindset. The whole mentality is different than like your idea of patriotism and wanting to like make something of yourself, even yourself. That's already it's anthological.
Oh yeah,
it's an anathema to them. They don't see the world like that. They don't, and it's hard for you to do it. But when you adopt, then you can sort of understand where they're coming from, what they're swinging with. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
It's hard to understand something that you just can't fundamentally process mentally.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
I can't understand like the idea of self. Like if I was in North Korea and I say self, I'm in a work camp. You know, they didn't have a word for that. You know, and I can't get my head around that. Yeah, they don't really refer to themselves as themselves. It's us. It's we. It's our. And so they don't like in the language, but it's just a different programming. So when you have individualism and self-worth, it's hard to think that way. So it is very difficult to understand.
It's funny though when you see people that always talk about the we and the us and the community and stuff like that, and then something happens to them like in Los Angeles, and then they're like, oh wow, woe is me, what was my things, how am I feeling? It's very funny how that immediately comes out when you, like you said, they're talking about community and like for myself as opposed to thinking about just myself. It's funny though that like the people that claim that they're often about their communities and stuff like that are often not. They're doing it because it's self-serving, because we've kind of gotten rid of the ability to actually have any social advancement. There's no way to like gain social bucks in the world anymore unless you get in with this ideology and say, oh, I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket, and suddenly like, you know, now it's all kind of coming to an end. It's all crumbling and people have no idea what to do with it. But
The bit goes on to say, which is actually very frustrating to read, but it says CRT, which is typically taught at the college and postgraduate level, has been around for decades and holds that race is a social construct embedded in American institutions. This idea that it's only taught in colleges, that was something that you first heard when CRT kind of became part of the national lexicon, right? So they said that they were talking about critical race theory, and the response from people in the media and stuff was, oh, that's only taught in colleges, right? Because they don't, when CRT is taught in grade school or high schools, you're not teaching this, you're not teaching about CRT. You're using CRT as a lens to see the world through. So you're not teaching kids about CRT. What you're doing is you're teaching kids to see the world through a power dynamic, through a racial power dynamic. So it teaches kids to see that minorities have been oppressed, and they've always been oppressed in America, and that they can't get out of the oppressed situation, and that white people and men, they're the oppressor, and they've always been the oppressor. And so when you teach kids that, you're not teaching them about CRT. You're teaching them to see the world through a critical lens, because CRT isn't just a subject; it's a way to interact with the world. Just like you were saying, if you don't have an idea of me, then you don't have the ability to think of yourself first, right? And and that right there is a worldview. It's a way to experience the world. And CRT, when it comes to grade school and high school, it's a way to teach kids. It's not about teaching them specifically the theories behind CRT. Right. It's teaching them, look, these people are oppressed, these people are not oppressed, and that's why whether it be critical race theory or whether it be critical gender studies, that's the same kind of oppression matrix.
Yeah.
It's just using different people as the oppressed, and that falls under like the whole intersectionality thing, whether it be intersectional feminism,
Yeah, dude.
where women are the oppressed and men are the oppressors, or whether you're talking about critical race theory, where people of color are the oppressed and white people are the oppressor, or you're talking about critical gender studies, which means that the queer and the LGBT people are the oppressed and straight and heteronormative people are the oppressor, but it's all a Marxist power dynamic.
Exactly.
And it moved on from
Just critical theory, Hegelian critical theory.
Exactly. Hegelian critical theory, exactly. And
You
it's
see it once, you see it in everything.
and once
Critical race theory, you see CT in everything. It's gender theory. It's always theory. It's teaching you how to think in a particular way. It's indoctrination. When I say it's not indoctrination, it's like, okay, well then why are you telling people why are you teaching people a way to think? That's literally what it means.
And so when the Hill says things like CRT, which is typically taught at collegiate and postgraduate level, that's literally running cover for these ideologies. Like they're trying to misrepresent what's going on.
How do we know how common this really is in public schools at the elementary school, middle school, or high school level? How do we know?
Anytime you see,
Because it must depend on the specific district and the individual
definitely
school.
varies.
How do we know?
well, anytime you would see a Black Lives Matter flag, or you would see the Pride Progress flag, that's a real good
Public school?
Oh yeah, you'd see that stuff. They were flying them outside of the. They were flying them outside of the outside of embassies all over the world. The U.S. had Black Lives Matter, and
I just wonder, like, how. I don't know. Like, I don't know how common this is because I never like went
common
to,
enough where the FBI would say, "Look, we're going to go
I
ahead
never
and look
went to
into
public
Americans."
school, so I just don't. I don't know if
Dude, even
this is like localized in certain intensely
I don't think-
liberal
No,
areas.
we've talked on the show before about folks in rural area who's had to
Even in
live in
Utah.
rural areas.
Yeah.
Because in the rural areas, because it's getting there from the ladies, or sorry, liberal women, they go to college, they do their teacher thing, and they bring their thought and process their critical theory over to any school they can, and if they live in the rural area, they bring it to the rural area homeland, so they're teaching in their own rural oral homeland. And even if it's like 20%, 10%, whatever, get it the F out of here.
Why is it always the librarians? That's what I want to know.
Dude,
I feel like it's
more
always a
than that.
librarian.
And teachers too, but it's
No,
always,
there was a rural school, and the first the first inkling of it where we lived in Oklahoma was like a librarian.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh,
and
really?
then- oh yeah. And it's just like, because you said went off to school, came back, and was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm changing how
what
the
they do.
books are, and these are the books that are allowed and not allowed. You know,
That part of that problem is that these things aren't just taught in schools. They first were taught in schools of education. So when you had teachers going to school to learn to be teachers, they were told this is how you should teach. This all comes back to this guy named Paulo Freire, and he has a book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and that was put into. It was written in like the early '80s, and it made it. Or maybe the 70s, but it went through the schools of education like wildfire in the 80s and 90s. Okay, and now all of the teachers learn a Marxist way of teaching. And so your situation isn't that they're teaching again. This is why this is so dishonest. It's not that they're teaching CRT. It's that all the teachers, when they're taught how to teach, they're taught these are the methods, and all of the methods are critical race theory. They're all critical. They're all to have a critical lens, and a critical lens means to be critical of the status quo and to look for the oppressed people, and those people must be centered. The marginalized people must be centered, and the people at the center must be made to go to the margin.
so if it's that systemic, what does this do?
Well,
You know what I mean? Like, what does it do?
Again, the most important thing in this, in my opinion, is the Project 1776 or the 1776 Commission, which says you cannot teach a curriculum that characterizes the United States of America as an evil.
Only
as
if they're
a
funded
problem.
by the federal government, or if they get federal government, because Trump can't like make everyone do everything. Right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like with this, I don't want to look at this as a solve.
I hear you.
No, not at all. Not at all.
There's still a lot of work to do.
There's a lot of people that are teaching this outside the curriculum too, which we're going to address to Mary as well. Like people are definitely just teaching this to their kids as if this is truth, because this is like you have to again. It's all about framing how you think about it. This is a religion to them. This is the most important thing that is driving every single aspect of their daily life. It's like we have to push this because they literally think that there are Nazis everywhere else around them that they're saying this. And now, unfortunately, because of the Groypers and stuff, there are people that literally say this stuff and have these iconographs or whatever. So, yeah, it's like Phil's exactly saying. It's like it's so deep. We already think about the world in a leftist framework altogether already. So, like, it's I don't know. I don't know.
think
That's
on
a
the
great
bright
question.
side, though, I don't think the kids are buying it.
No,
think
no,
they're-
amen. You're right.
Definitely not.
They're pushing. They're definitely pushing back. There's a group of them that are pushing back, and it tends to be like young white guys, because young white guys are the ones that they're told, "Hey, look, you're the problem. You're the whole problem." Blah blah blah. And there's a certain, and we were talking about
And
this
their
last
friends,
night.
too.
We talked last night. There's like. This dude was talking. I read a tweet where a guy was talking about. He's like, I saw this kid that I knew, and he was upset because he kept being told that he was he was the worst, he was the root of all evil, he's a racist, blah blah blah, and now he's a girl. And so what happens is, and he transitioned, which is part of the reason why kids are transitioning. Because if you've got kids and you tell them you're the problem, you're white, you're the problem, you're a male, you're the
Why would you wanna
problem,
be that?
you're always the bad person, blah blah blah. You have two options. You can either say F you and go and become far right and say we're going to win at whatever cost, we're going to take over because all this stuff has to be burnt to the ground because it's all corrupt. Or if you're not that guy, then you say, well, I could always go ahead and call myself a girl and get all the kudos and everyone.
Right.
It's literally because the LGBT lobby or the LGBT identity is something that anyone can take up the mantle of.
Right.
If you're a normal straight white kid, right? Normal straight white dude, you can say, okay, I can either be considered the bad guy all the time around all of my friend groups. I can always be called all the names, or I can say that I'm poly, or I'm bi, or I can say that I'm a trans woman, trans girl, and I can get all kinds of attention and I can get all kinds of kudos and blah blah blah. So it's literally they're given the option. You can either assimilate, and the LGBT mantle will allow you to absolve yourself of the sin, because again, it's like a religion. It will either absolve you of the sin, or you can embrace your inner dark side, and you can go ahead and say, well, F you, me and my friends are going to hang out and we're going to say whatever we want, and we can be as crass and rude and say all the terrible things, and it's fine around us. And if we ever get the chance to take over, we're going to take over and we're going to burn it down.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. My kids are 10, 16, and 18.
Nice.
So I've got kids in that range. Now they're homeschooled, so they haven't been indoctrinated. Well, so
Hopefully by you.
yeah, exactly. I'm not doing CRT at the house. So, but like I see I see their friend group, and it is very contrarian. They're just like, this is all stupid. They just swing so far the other way because it's not punk rock anymore. It's like,
Nice, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's
it's
the
not
lame
really.
thing to do.
Well, what do they respect? If they don't respect that, what do they respect?
Individualism, building businesses, investing, being successful, contributing to society as a functional member.
But like, I feel like they're questioning the idea of contributing to society now. Like young people in that age range are questioning the whole idea of needing to contribute to the society that reviles them.
Oh,
And they're becoming more nihilistic.
I can see where you're
fair.
coming with that. For me, at least with my kids, like very business minded, but and so it's different for everyone. But I could see where the outcome of that's like, F it, Atlas shrugged, I'm out. I'm gonna live in the woods.
Well, I mean, look, man, this is something that, like, whether you like his stuff or not, Jordan Peterson was predicting this 10 years
Yes.
ago.
Yeah.
He's like, look, you can't have young men not actually have a future in the society. You
They're
can't
creating
do that.
their own worst enemies.
And watch out.
So
look,
that's
man,
the white pill in all of this.
When in 2015, when punch a Nazi was all the rage, all the people on the left and all the commies were like, it's okay to punch a Nazi, and Ben Shapiro's a Nazi, right? Blah 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 blah. I was getting I was getting endless amounts of shit from people in the music industry because I was like, no, that's wrong. You can't do that. You're gonna make more Nazis.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Nobody wanted to listen, right? Because I was the guy that was like, no, free speech is important. Right? Nobody wanted to listen because I had a foul mouth, and I was like, "No, it's important to be able to do this stuff." Yeah, I see it.
Jen, just watch. If you want to get into it real quick, just one quick statement. If you want to learn more about what's going on with the young men, white, Hispanic, just young men in general, what if alt-hist? He's in many great videos of the backlash that's going to happen.
He's kind of going through something right now.
What?
That guy, he's kind of.
Rudyard.
He's kind of going through something.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's kind of struggling right now.
Oh,
I don't know. He's getting
Prayers up.
he's getting a lot of
prayers up then.
A lot of help.
Okay.
So,
good for,
but yeah, like I mean, look, these kind of problems are actually obvious when you look at the whole of the situation.
Yes.
And you can't treat a whole generation of young people like they're the bad guy.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.